Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the SH Figuarts Dragon Ball Z ZARBON. I have wanted this guy and Dodoria since I started collecting the line all those, 11, 12 years ago, something like that. I don't remember when it was a long time ago. We finally have both of them. I'm very happy about that, and I'm very happy to be reviewing them for you. Dodoria was a pretty good release. This guy is pretty much on par with him, but there's definitely a few things we need to discuss. So let's go ahead and get him off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just about, well, let's say 16.5 centimeters. That's just below the tippy top of his hair, so that's pretty good for scaling, I would say. You could go down just a little bit even from there if you're really worried about accuracy. It's going to be about 6.5 inches, so it's pretty good size. I'll show you what he looks like up against Dodoria. I'll do it right now so you don't have to wait until the end of the video for the photos. They're almost the same size, which I remember ZARBON being taller. So I'll have to Google that and see if that's accurate or not. I do remember him being a lot taller, but maybe not. Maybe it just seemed like it because he's slender and Dodoria's a big square person. So I don't know. Okay, let's go ahead and do a quick question of the day before we get started. Easy question, ZARBON or Dodoria? I would have to go with ZARBON. I think he's got a cooler design. Dodoria just seems like generic monster number 2 type character, whereas he's got a little more flair, let's say. Okay, so aesthetically speaking, that's how we're going to start. This guy has very little paint on him. Very, very, very little. We have a lot of molded plastic, which is a good thing. It's not going to scratch, so that's fine. But it does tend to take away from the premium feel of a figure. I don't mean premium as in premium Bandai. I mean premium as in the SH Figuarts line is a premium line, more or less. And so that's something to consider. But we do have a lot of molded white, a lot of, is this painted purple? I want to say the purple is molded and the flesh tone is painted. That's what it looks like up here. Down here it looks like it's the opposite. So, I mean, there's a little bit of paint, but just for consistency purposes, not for detailing purposes. This looks painted from where I'm sitting right now. I can't say 100%, but either way, again, it's not detail stuff. It's just for accuracy. So I know a lot of you guys are on the fence. Some of you are very much like, I want paint on my figures all over the place. And others are like, I want molded parts. If you like molded parts, this guy is for you. Same thing with Dodoria. I remember talking about that. If you like paint, he is definitely lacking. We do have some detail work, like on his ponytail. We get that gold bit. That's very nice. It looks like there's a little bit of a wash in the hair. I like that. And then the face is painted nicely. No issues there. That's all fine. We can get in a little bit tighter. It looks good. I mean, I don't have any issue with that. The lines are super clean. He's got his little eyelashes on there. The thing on his forehead is very clean. His earrings are good. So what is there is super clean, but otherwise he does look very plasticky, and he's fairly shiny too. The purple sleeves are shiny. The white isn't completely satin. It's not the worst shiny figure we've ever seen. Dodoria was way worse, but it's just... Second question of the day. Paint or no paint? You pick one. If you're in the middle, you have to pick if you want to participate. For me, it's all about paint. I want him to have a premium feel. This looks good enough. I will say I do like the sculpt on this guy. He's got some nice musculature going on in the arms. We don't always get that. And the proportioning is really nice. I think it's appropriate for the character. I am definitely taken back to the first times of me seeing this character on the screen. So I'm happy about it, but I am definitely missing the paint. So I'll leave it at that for the aesthetics. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Good sculpt work. What's there is clean, but we're definitely lacking. That's still a good rating, but for me, it could easily get higher with just some shading or some painted details, even just some line work, you know, something to bring it to life, to make it pop. Okay, let's talk about the accessories. We do have the smirking face that comes on him in the package. Then we get a stern face, a teeth showing face, and then a yelling face. They're all very nicely done. I like them a whole bunch. I do wish the open mouth face was kind of deeper. The mouth doesn't really have an opening. It's kind of all flat, but it doesn't look terrible, so that's okay, I guess. His ear does pop off, and you can put his scouter on, so that's cool. We have alternate hair pieces for the front and the back, so you get some options there. For the hands, we have the 2 fist hands that come out in the package. Then we get the 2 kind of palm hands, and then the 2 semi-relaxed hands, then the 1 wide open hand. And then lastly, we get the activated 2-star Dragon Ball, which is, again, a very, very gorgeous accessory. I talked to you guys about these before. I found out after I did that first review saying, why do we have different Dragon Balls now? It's because they're doing activated ones, and I do just love these. The completely clear ones were great, but these look amazing. It does look like the insides are like swirling about almost, or like light is percolating throughout the thing, even though it's just a solid piece of plastic with some paint and some metal flake in there. It looks fantastic. I love these things. They're not that useful other than put them in a hand and set them on a shelf, but they do look awesome. Very, very well executed. So that's pretty cool. No sort of energy effect part at all, no stand, no nothing. So this is a relatively standard assortment of accessories for an SH Figuarts figure, but it's a good assortment. I like the faces, the hands are good, the hair is fine. I'll take it. So I'll do 8 out of 10 for the accessories. It's definitely enough. I'm happy with it. Could be more, but I'm happy with it. All right, now articulation time. This is where the rubber hits the road on this line. We're gonna see what the head has. I'm willing to bet it's a ball hinge, not a ball peg, because I don't think I'm that lucky, but let's see. Yep, it's a ball hinge. So I'm willing to bet that being a ball hinge and having that hair, look how far down around the neck that hair goes, we're gonna have virtually no range with the face connected. I saved a lot of this for review to do live with you guys. Not live, but like real time. So he does get to use the hinge just a little bit, which of course a ball peg could do. Leaning side to side is not happening. Rotating is okay. So yeah, it's super basic movement. And now if you want to, you can pop that head face off and try to get that ball hinge rotated around so that it's sideways, and you could do a slightly leaning pose. But that is just gonna be a nightmare. Like, it's so far recessed in there that it's going to be a very difficult time getting that ball hinge to do anything else. So good luck with that. Not the way I would do it, not the way I would recommend anybody else do it. Double ball peg would definitely be better. For this hair piece, it's just a ball peg, which surprisingly has better range than the head. Not surprisingly, really, because it works. So, and it's a ball peg, and they almost always do. So that's pretty cool. You can move it around. This piece isn't, like, you're mostly going to hang it straight down, and then the other piece you're mostly going to just put the way it goes, and you will have seen a photo of that already. So the ball peg's nice. That's cool. I like it. Nothing that you needed to do more than that. Not going to serve a huge purpose, but it is there if you want it, and I like that. So that's pretty cool. Now, for the shoulder pads, we do have the basic hinge. Do we have the little peg that lets them remove? We do not. So they are like pinned through this way. They don't snap on this way. So they do flip up and down, but they are not going anywhere. There's no extra movement. There's no popping off, not safely. So that's kind of an issue. Be aware of that. For the shoulders, we have our butterfly hinge, which some people love, some people hate. With the shoulder pads up here, I just think it's such a silly thing to add because it's just so in the way. Like, yes, you can technically bring the arm around now, but the shoulder pad is just stuck up there. So what are you going to do that's practical? It's the same color as the skin. I think that's appropriate for this, so that's a good thing. It's definitely gappy to bring it all the... We'll talk about that. It's definitely gappy to bring it out. Like, if you really needed his arm across his chest, you could do it. But again, with that shoulder pad not being able to be hidden, it's not going to look great. It's not going to look absolutely terrible at the perfect angle, but I really need them to include some alternate shoulder pads for things like this. Like, if this character is known for reaching across and touching his arm, kind of like Samus Aran does, then just at least give us one shoulder pad that's like twisted, like they did for one of the Ginyu Force, so that we can actually pose them and it looks good. Having the shoulder sticking out of the shoulder pad and then the shoulder pad sticking up in a giant hole in the chest, I think we're past that at this stage in the game, so that's a little bit of a bummer. But for the shoulders themselves, we are on ball pegs, so they move around freely. It's a little stiff, but they move around, and then we do get the hinge, so we get really, really good range out of that. Love that. You do get your full rotation, but that is going to get in the way, of course, so you don't really get it. Bicep swivel is fine. Double jointed elbow gives you plenty of range and isn't ugly, so I like that. We have a ball hinge for the wrist. It's a bigger one than normal, and it looks really good because it's the right size. Like, that's the perfect size for the wrist, and you get plenty of range out of that, so very, very happy about that. For the torso, I was thinking we'd have a hinge here, and if we do, mine is stuck because, or at least it doesn't extend up like you would expect. We've seen a lot of the time. It does lean back, and it does lean forward, and it leans forward pretty nicely. No gapping going on, and it leans back just a little bit. It feels to me like there is a hinge and a ball peg in there. Like, you can see this wiggle. That's on the ball peg, and then this is on the hinge. Because it doesn't lean side to side worth a damn. This figure does not have that. It's just on that little ball peg. There's a little bit of rotation on that peg too. So the hinge is just a standard hinge this time. It's not offset, so it doesn't lift the body up. It just lets it go forward and back. So that's a little bit of a change. It's a little bit strange. I think double ball peg is the way to go, because right now we have no side to side motion really, and limited range going backwards. So it's okay, but it definitely could be a lot better. Double ball peg would solve that. Down here we have a little bit of movement on the lower torso. No side to side other than a little bit of a wiggle. So you get the forward and back on that and the rotation. For the hips, it's slightly different than we've seen before, but mostly the same. They go out only about 45 degrees, which to me is unacceptable. These are Dragon Ball figures. They need to be in the craziest of martial arts poses. However you want to pose them, you should be able to. And we have definitely seen better hip motion out of a figure. In fact, let me just check this real quick. I have a hunch. Yeah, I thought my hunch was right, and it is. So check it. This guy's hips are all the way out. You see what I'm saying? Like, this guy's big and chunky and his work just fine. This guy's slender and we don't have the range. There's really no good excuse for that. So that's a big time bummer for me. A 90-degree angle for the legs, not enough. 45 per leg, not enough. Bringing them forward does work nicely though. I'll give you that. That rotates nicely. Going back, the butt cheeks, do they get in the way? They do. They do. They didn't give the full-on cheeks this time, which is good. They built the cheeks into the leg, but they still left a little bit of a cheek here. Like, why? Don't do that. Don't do that. That little bit of a cheek? Do you see that little bit? That's keeping the leg from going back. Like, it can go back if you go out. So that's okay, but also you just don't need that. Like, it already looks goofy to have a separate set of butt cheeks right there. So just don't. Just bring it around. Like, give him cheeks or make this taper or something. That little edge is not cool. I don't like that. You don't really get a thigh swivel out of the top like you would expect. This time you get it down here, which is a good thing. I like that they incorporated it that way. It breaks the anatomy some, but it definitely saves on ease of building. And it works fine for the separate molded parts. I'm okay with that. Double jointed knee works nicely. Perfectly good range, nice good looking knee, no issues there. And then for the ankles, we have another big ball hinge like in the wrist, and it goes pretty far back and, well, not very far forward again. But you do get a toe hinge, which is pretty ugly. It still has that big sharp edge, and it shouldn't have that big sharp edge. This right here should just be rounded off, so that it's just the radius, and that would be flat on the bottom. But you do get that. It's not stiff enough really to hold anything, but it's there. And this being a ball hinge is okay. You do get a little bit of extra range for like an ankle rocker, but there's not quite enough. I think they could have pulled the shin back a little bit, because as you can see, it flares out over the ball. You don't really need to do that on an ankle. You can bring the shin down and just let the ball be the ankle and like just kind of taper it to it, and it would have given him better range and looked okay. So the ankles are pretty limited. Hips are pretty limited. Knees are good. Torso's average at best. Arms are okay. Shoulders aren't great. Neck is only okay. This guy's articulation isn't the strongest point on the figure, but there's one last piece to talk about, which is the cape. It has a single peg that goes in right here. Easy for them to assemble. Is it good for the consumer? All you get is a standard hinge out of that, because that peg does not allow you really any extra, like it doesn't rotate or anything, no matter how you do it. So is that a good way of connecting it? It's okay. The hinge works. If you want the cape to just blow straight back, you can do that. That'd be useful for some posing, I suppose. But that's it. So it's like, it's okay, but not great. Why do people always want to call me when I'm in the middle of a review? It doesn't do anything special. We have the one fixed cape. Having the hinge, is it necessary? No, but it's fine. It doesn't really fall off too much like it did during the review, because you're not going to be yanking on it or doing anything like I did. So it's fine. It just doesn't like turn to the side or anything else. It's tucked in, so you just get the hinge. So yeah, articulation's definitely not the strong suit on this guy. I guess realistically speaking, neither is paint. Maybe accessories are. So yeah, articulation rating is going to be 6 out of 10. It's too limiting. The hips aren't that good. Ankles aren't that good. Torso's not that good. Neck's not that good. Shoulders aren't that good. Mostly, it's not that good for articulation. Very bummed out about that. I guess it doesn't really matter, because I'll probably just have him standing there behind Frieza on the shelf. But this figure, while is apparently pretty good, and it is generally good, it's lacking in a lot of what we would want out of an SH Figuarts figure. So I'm going to give it a final rating of I like the accessories. I'm gonna go 7.5 out of 10. The accessories are pretty nice. It does look good, but it needs more paint and can't pose well. So you're gonna have to decide how you value those different things. But for me, it's a 7.5. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, you can give it a thumbs down. And if you did, also give it a share. Use that little share thing on the bottom of the player and share it. Apparently that's a big thing on YouTube now, so I would really appreciate that. And also, what might be great for you is a subscribe. You can use that subscribe button if you haven't. I do have new videos almost every single day, and thousands already on the channel, so make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.